Welcome all. Welcome back to the See Through It podcast, episode number 7. We have Bama Bo here with us. Hi. Are you
You know
ready?
what? It's SEC day. Hey, I'm all in. And look, I'm not even biased, so we're good. We're good.
No bias. We're not doing any bias. This is SEC Day. Today is Friday. I'm your host, Brian Sells, and we are talking about the best conference in college football. Whether you like it or not, it is the best conference in college football. Just from pure facts. Every year they start off non-conference games, they play the big games, and they go in and handle business. Countless times Alabama has done it, and for everyone that says Alabama plays no one but cupcakes, go back through the history books, Wikipedia, Google, YouTube, whatever you need to go back to, and go find Alabama starting the season off with your top teams and crushing those top teams. USC, Michigan, Clemson, Virginia Tech, um, countless. Florida State, and these teams are not even the same anymore. So um, it's
Killed
actually
them. Killed their programs.
killed the programs, killed those programs. So SEC they play when they need to play, and that's why we're talking about the best conference on a Friday. It's a great day to be talking SEC football leading into the college football weekend. With that being said, as you see, topic number 1 on the board, we got SEC versus the non-conference games. How I've already said my piece on how I felt about how SEC schedules in the beginning of the season. How do you feel about those games?
I mean, it's only a problem when there's a game like Alabama opening with Duke. You know what I mean? Like it's a really cool thing to do if you're opening with one of these major things. But we're working our way through the SEC and I mean the ACC, and that's just the way it is. We've done the Florida State, the Louisville, and that's fine. From time to time you're going to open with a big game. This one, not so much. But you know what? I like the idea of it, and I frankly like the idea that we've got an opener we don't have to sweat over for the first time in a while. Louisville, not so much a big deal last year, but before that, it's always been somebody.
Yeah.
And like you go back to Wisconsin and just on and on and on, and it's always been one of those big games. I think Alabama always does a really good job of it until the past 2 years. But these games are scheduled way ahead of time.
Way ahead
And
of
so,
time.
look at who everybody else opens with.
Yeah.
You
The
know,
yeah the
we're the only team that don't get a pass.
Yeah. Alabama's the only one that doesn't get a pass. Yeah, I was going back
But I
through.
don't mind it. I like the non-conference. I mean, I think it's a cool thing to do.
Yeah, I do like the non-conference games. I do. The only thing I would change, like especially in season, I would rather just take those super weak games, just take them out because it just seems like it's going to be a win, but you risk getting players injured. Something dumb happens, and you don't even plan on playing your starters for a whole quarter, but someone gets injured, and you're like, oh, now this is supposed to be the rest game, and you're leaning into your LSU or your Auburn game or something like that, and now you got someone injured. So I would rather them take those games out of the schedule and just make it a bye, or I guess like Nick said, he wants them to go 9 games conference. I
Yeah.
would rather see that, and you know keep the scheduling how it is. But if no more cupcakes, just go 9 games conference
Yeah.
schedule and schedule heavy or schedule a good Power 5 team like they've been doing.
Yeah.
LSU does it very well. I remember the year when they played, who was it, North Carolina, and North Carolina was ranked pretty high. Uh, I know you can't really look into the future to see how these teams are going to be, but I'm pretty sure you knew Duke wasn't going to be in the top 25.
Well, and also, you talk about these mid majors, right?
Right.
We're fairly certain
Right.
that New Mexico State was never going to have an opportunity to beat Alabama, but they get paid to come to Tuscaloosa and play them. The problem I have with it is I've been to these games. I went to I think it was Arkansas State, was it last year or the year before, 11 o'clock kickoff, and it was 150 degrees outside, and there was no one there.
Oh.
No one there. Even none of the students showed up. It was terrible.
Yeah.
It was absolutely terrible. Yeah. And then the few people that were there were gone after the first quarter. It was just like, if you want the fans to be there in that regard, you got to do a little bit of a better job. I mean, that's just, you can't drag them there in 150 degrees at 11 o'clock kickoff for mid-major.
Right. Yeah. I definitely would have hit that snooze button and kept sleeping till 1 o'clock.
All the students did.
Who are we playing again? Arkansas State. Okay. I don't need to see that one. Just let me know how that game ends. I don't need to see that one. But this opening weekend, we got Miami versus Florida, and yesterday I was watching the ACC network. It's a brand new network, ESPN. They got the contract deal. They're doing the ACC, and I'm sitting there watching it. The first 3 minutes, I'm like, who's on the panel? And EJ Manuel's on the panel, and EJ Manuel's on the panel. I don't even know who the rest of. I think they have a guy from Clemson who is offensive lineman, and I don't even know who the rest of them are. But the first 3 minutes irritated me. They immediately went with Miami. They didn't really give no sound. Oh, Mark Richt. Richt is on he's on that panel, and they immediately co-signed Miami beating Florida, and I was like, really? They didn't really justify it. They didn't use any logic. They just said Miami's gonna win. Let's move on to the next game. I was like, wow. And you're talking about bias. It's like, wow.
And not to go down a rabbit hole here, but how long is this program? Like, how long is this stay on? Like, hour, 2 hours, 4 hours, what?
I think it was 2 hours. I immediately after that I turned it. I was done. I can't believe. I wanted to see what they had to say. I really wanted to gain more information about the ACC. But if that's what's going to be pushed out, like.
Yeah, because that's my question is, how long, I mean, what is there to talk about other than Clemson?
I don't know. I really don't understand how they got the deal. I don't. They was on there for at least 2 hours, I believe. It was a 2-hour show, and you have nothing else to fill the spot with. I mean, like you said, it's only Clemson. Who else are you? I guess they maybe got more in depth with Florida State, what Florida State was going to be doing. The show was ridiculous, and if that's what people are going to be watching, I couldn't deal. It was, and again, it's not me being biased. SEC, it's none of that. I wanted to watch it to find out more information about the ACC. But if you're going to spew nonsense, not even use any type of logic. I mean, Florida's ranked number 8 for a reason because they had a good season. They finished strong towards the end. And you're just going to say Miami's going to win that game and Florida has no chance. Like, what?
And you're not going to tell us how Miami's going to line up and beat them?
Yeah, they say it's going to
I would like to know how they're going to line up and beat them.
It was going to be a defensive slugfest, and Miami's young quarterback was just going to carry them to the victory.
Okay.
I was blown away. I was like, wow.
I don't buy it. I think the ACC's in for a bad opening. I really do.
Yeah. I hope Florida goes in there and wipe Miami clean off that board. I wanted a good game. I wanted Miami to show up and play well, but after watching that network, I can't believe that's what they put out there. Debuting on that day, that's what they put out there. That type of nonsense. I was done. I was completely done. So as we transition to redemption, as you see it up there on the board, it says redemption. And then what I mean by redemption, talking about some players and teams that feel like they need to make things right. Texas A&M coming off that loss to Clemson, they had them. They had Clemson at home. They had Clemson, and then the referees took the game away. Of course, there were some other games that Texas A&M let go. They didn't finish. Jimbo Fisher talked about that. The team did not learn how to finish, but towards the end of the season, they was trying to learn how to finish games. So this is a redemption year for them. And Kelly Bryant being booted out of Clemson. What will he do with that offense in Missouri? They have some nice little weapons. I wouldn't say they elite weapons, but they got some stuff. Matt Locke, when he was out there, Missouri's has always been an offensive team. So what will Kelly Bryant do this year?
I don't know, but I'll tell you, you know, I was at the game when we played them last year with Drew Lock, and they couldn't do nothing.
Mm.
So I don't have high hopes for Kelly Bryant. I mean, he's not the quarterback Drew Lock is.
Right.
That said, though, my Missouri's schedule sets up pretty nicely for them.
Oh yeah,
it really does. It sets up pretty nicely for them.
Yeah, it does. Do you see them? Well, everyone has already picked Georgia, but I was looking at that schedule, and if Georgia has a couple of hiccups and Missouri plays it clean, they snuck into the SEC championship before because teams didn't. Because teams didn't do what they were supposed to do. So, that schedule is set up pretty nice. They're not playing anyone that you would be like, whoa, that's an automatic loss. So.
No, they don't. Their schedule sets up really nice. And then back to Texas A&M. You were talking about not finishing, and I think that was the real problem that they had before. And why am I drawing a blank on the coach? What was his name?
Oh, Kevin.
The Texas A&M coach. Kevin Sumlin. Thank you. Yes. Kevin Sumlin just couldn't finish. He couldn't ever quite finish. And when it would go down, when they would lose a big game, they just couldn't ever quite bounce back from it. They were that type of team. Mm-hmm. But I think that may be the difference you see in Jimbo Fisher. I think they're going to be more of a closer and a better finisher. Yeah. And they're going to have better defense, surely.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you're Texas A&M, you've got that game circled to Clemson because you had it won last year.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're Jimbo Fisher, you go into that game and you go, I don't care if it's in Death Valley. I don't care where it is. I got this game circled. I've had it circled all off season, and we're going to go in and win it because it's Clemson.
Absolutely. I feel like that's the game I've been waiting for, and I don't think I'm going to be disappointed. I feel like Clemson is probably super relaxed. They've been praised all off season. Dabo's been talking however he feel like talking. Trevor Lawrence's head is getting bigger by the minute.
Yep. And all of that matters.
Yeah. They're gonna.
It matters.
They're gonna. And again, they don't have their senior leadership that they had. Hunter Winfrow's gone. The defensive Lawrence is gone. They don't have the leadership that they had before that kept them all in check to make sure they got the job done. They're all gone, so it's going to be interesting to see how this team responds to Texas A&M. Because I think Texas A&M is going to come in there and punch them, straighten them out. I don't think they're going to start out slow. They're going to start fast. They are coming after Clemson in that game. They're coming after them in that game.
I had an expert on my show a couple of weeks ago, a guy that I think the world of. And he kind of pointed out to me, talking about Clemson's defensive line. Now, he didn't say it was going to be a weakness this year. We were just talking about last year, but he did make the point to say, you'll never see a defensive line like that again. That's how great they were. You will never see a defensive line like that again. But that defensive line is gone.
It's gone.
So, Clemson may take a little bit of a step back. I know Clemson doesn't think that, and I know Clemson fans don't think that, but they could. I know they're recruiting well, but that doesn't always equal on the field. Yep. Alabama's seen it too many times.
Yep.
So they could take a little bit of a step back, and you're talking game 2.
Game 2. It is not game 6 where you've worked out all your kinks, all the players are getting comfortable in the system. No, this is game 2. After you play your little game, you come into a serious game. So you've already had a vacation all off season. You played a little game, and now it's time to try to focus in on a team that's hungry for revenge. and you don't have your senior leadership to make sure that you take the first game serious, so that you make sure you're progressing. I
Yep.
don't know. I feel like Clemson might sleepwalk and catch Texas A&M and lose bad. It might get ugly. It
Hmm.
might get ugly.
I'm just telling you. I'm just telling you. I know people. You hear the Clemson fans, you hear about, oh, they don't have a shot. But let me tell you something. Alabama, cleans Texas A&M's clock every year
Mhm.
for the most part in the past 4 or 5 years, uh, post Johnny Manziel, and and I still don't. I still am concerned about the game this year because I do fear Jimbo Fisher a little bit, and
Yeah.
I'm just saying. I think you ought to. And if Clemson thinks they're just going to, because they're at home, win that game, I'm just saying, don't be so sure, because I don't think it's going to be as easy as they think. I've got Texas A&M in the upset. We'll see.
What's the score? Do you have a score? I want to see the score.
Oh, I think it would be a close
A
game.
close game.
I think it'd be a close game. Yeah. Yeah, I just think it's one of those where, something happens and Texas A&M comes out with a victory. That's all. And it may be brutal and it may be ugly, but I just think they'll come out with a victory. So we'll say, it's just going to depend on, I'll tell you what it's going to depend on, if they can contain Justin Ross, if they can stay with Justin Ross, and if they can put pressure on Trevor Lawrence. But Texas A&M's not always known for defense.
Mm-hmm.
If they can do that, you got a different ball game. So we'll say if they can do, Alabama couldn't get a hand on him. Could not get a hand on Trevor Lawrence.
Right.
Uniform completely clean when the game was over.
Yeah.
If Texas A&M can put pressure on him, make his life a little bit miserable, maybe it's lower scoring than you think it would be. So I don't know. Maybe they win by 3, but it's probably going to be in the 30s or something. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't have an exact score.
So what I came up with, I was just jotting down, and then you threw Ross out there. So I'm going 40-27, Texas A&M. I think they're gonna come out. Jimbo Fisher is about starting fast. He doesn't want to. He's not going to want to start slow against this team, especially if they have 2 possessions where they punted the ball and Clemson. I mean, because you still have to respect the fact that Trevor Lawrence can throw the ball and they have Ross on that outside. So if you're not, if you don't have the corner or the safety to make sure you're keeping Ross in check, that's not a good hole to be trying to dig out of. So I feel like Texas A&M is going to start out fast, put those points on the board. I'm thinking 40-27, because I don't feel like. I mean, they still have their running back. I forgot the running back's name.
Etienne.
No, not Etienne. For
Texas A&M.
Slipping my mind. They still have.
I can't think of it.
Yeah,
either.
they still have the running back, and if Kellerman has improved, which I believe he more than likely has, because I trust Jimbo Fisher. I can see them putting 40 points up on that team, especially since they don't have the defensive line. I feel like he'll be able to stand in the pocket for a little bit, or even scramble, hurt him with his legs. I can see 40-27. I can see a little shootout.
Fair enough.
40-27.
Yeah, I mean, I like that score. Because it's just, I go back to, if Jimbo Fisher wants to know how to win this football game, number one, they had them last year, but 2, just go back and watch how Alabama played Clemson. And I know it's a different D-line with Clemson, but nonetheless, you look at the offense, and Alabama could not put any pressure on Trevor Lawrence. We had no pass rush at all.
At all.
None. We couldn't even come up with any. If they can come up with some, it'd be a different story.
Yeah. So, redemption year for Texas A&M. As we're talking about Texas A&M, we're talking about Texas A&M and South Carolina. The common denominator is Clemson. South Carolina, Gamecocks. What are their chances of beating? Right now they have the toughest schedule in the SEC. They got to play Bama. They got to play Clemson. I forgot and Georgia. That's a tough schedule. What are the chances?
It's a tough schedule. It's a tough schedule, Brian, when you're not a very good football team. It's kind of all relative, right?
That is very true. It's not going to be a very good football team in South Carolina this year. But for some reason, there was I forgot where I saw that, but Alabama and South Carolina is a top 10 most intriguing game. So apparently someone knows something, and they're telling us this is a game to watch. So can South Carolina beat Clemson?
No. I wish they could, but no.
No.
I mean, they're just the weak sisters of the poor in the SEC. They're not going to beat Clemson. And the reason this is intriguing, probably, I don't know, the media is remembering Stephen Garcia and the way he picked Alabama apart, but that was a long time ago.
Yeah, that was super long.
Long time ago.
Very long time ago. I think that was the last time we played South Carolina. I don't recall them playing South Carolina any time past that. Been filling the schedule of other teams. So, yeah, that's probably why that game is the most intriguing, to just see Alabama and South Carolina match up. But, yeah, I don't believe or think or even give South Carolina half a percentage of a chance to beat Clemson, unless Clemson just, you know what, this has been a rough year. Let's just mail it in. It's just been a rough year. Let's mail it in. Let's start over. Next year's coming.
I mean, I get that any team can line up and beat any team any given day. It happens.
Yes.
It does. I mean, look at I think the one that I was most shocked over was a few years ago when Troy beat LSU. It happens. But you have to just look at it like, should this team line up and beat them? Are they capable? Do they have the players and the bodies? And no, they don't. They don't. So we'll see. But they don't have the bodies to beat Clemson.
So sorry, South Carolina fans. I thought maybe this would be some hope, but Bama Bo has spoken. She has squashed all dreams of you guys taking out Clemson Tigers. So dream crusher.
And then the worst part is I just compared them to Troy.
You got compared to Troy. Is that is that the 7th or maybe 6th best team in Alabama? Troy? Troy.
I don't know, Brian. They're somewhere right there ahead of Auburn. I can't ever remember.
Ahead of Auburn, Troy Trojans. As we move right along, as we already talked about Texas A&M redemption, we both feel that Texas A&M can definitely take Clemson this year. So as you see on the board, we got what if. So that what if is, I know I didn't really explain that to you before we turned over. So what if, and here's the what if. What if Alabama loses 2 games and Georgia loses 2 games? Who gets into the SEC championship game?
Who does Alabama lose to?
They lose to, let's say they lose to South Carolina and they lose to LSU.
Well, if they lose to South Carolina, Alabama's toast anyway. So who gets in? Well, we've got LSU.
Got LSU.
I think LSU's going to have a really good season.
Yeah, everyone's pointing.
I think LSU's going to have a really good season, and it may depend on and the wild card may be a Texas A&M.
Yeah. Okay. So LSU or Texas.
So who else did you say you have? You got Georgia with 2 losses.
Georgia with 2 losses. Is that 2 losses still good enough for them to make it in the East?
Well, if Florida has a good season, then no.
No. If Florida has a good season, and what about?
Surely not. Think about it. That's the worst thing that you don't even want to think about are those scenarios, because then you're looking like the ACC did putting Pitt in there last year. It's like you're coming up with 7-5 football teams.
Yeah. I was just thinking. I was like, what? Well, what? Everyone's already punched those tickets for Alabama and Georgia. What if something crazy happened and we don't even get Alabama and Georgia? We get LSU and Missouri or Texas A&M and Kentucky.
And look, something weird can always happen.
Yeah.
I think that if I was going to say something weird will happen, I would say you'll still see one of those 2 teams in there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, okay, maybe Alabama does slip up, or maybe Georgia does slip up. But I think one of those two is going to be there. But, yeah, if Alabama slips up, I'd look for LSU to have a really good season.
Yeah. So right now, in the West and in the East, it's a three-headed. Is it a three-team race?
In the West?
Mm-hmm.
No, it's Alabama.
It's still Alabama? Okay. What about in the East?
Yeah.
East is a three-team
You know,
race?
I think there's a big. I do think there's a bigger separation in the East.
Yeah.
I do. I think there's a bigger separation between Georgia and the rest.
Oh, okay. Okay. I can see. Okay.
Yeah.
See, that's what I was battling. I felt Alabama was way above everyone else, and LSU and Texas A&M will be trying to punch it out for number 2. And with Georgia,
Yeah.
I didn't know how much I liked Georgia, and like I said, with Missouri's schedule, how it's set up, they can. If Georgia slips one time, I don't really have a problem with seeing Missouri overtake them, especially if somehow Florida hits a rough skid for no reason like they somehow normally do.
Well, you could see something crazy like that because Florida's very unpredictable this year. Nobody knows what to expect with Florida. I think they'll be okay, a 9 or 10 win team, but I don't think I don't know that they've closed the gap to Georgia.
Okay.
But that said, I don't think Georgia's closed the gap to Alabama as much as people think they have.
Mm-hmm.
I still think there's still a difference between Alabama and everybody else in the SEC, period.
Yeah.
Now, I just think the gap is wider in the East.
I agree.
Between Georgia and the rest of them.
Right. Well, see, so what I was coming up with, because I do feel like there's a nice cushion for Georgia, but I feel like they might, if they sleepwalk, because they feel that I feel like they feel entitled. They should have been in the playoffs.
Oh yeah, they do.
They feel entitled. So with how Missouri's schedule is set up and how Florida, all the hype that's been following them all season, like even after the recruiting, after the recruiting class came in,
it's been a train wreck.
So, I'm just saying I don't think they have any room for error. I think Georgia has to go undefeated. As I feel like Georgia has to go undefeated. I feel like Alabama can lose one game and still make the SEC championship. Because I feel like LSU, Texas A&M, and Mississippi State is going to hurt someone between those two. So
it depends on the head-to-head matchup, don't it? Because it's like if Alabama loses a game, who do they lose it to? Because on the other hand, I don't have LSU winning all their games, and I don't have Texas A&M winning all their games. I do have Alabama going undefeated in the regular season. I think that's very doable and most likely possible.
Yeah.
But if Alabama loses to LSU, and LSU hasn't lost another game, then you're looking at head-to-head. LSU gets in, and then you got major controversy because then it's going to be like a couple of years ago when Alabama snuck into the playoffs without even going to the SEC championship game. And they don't want that.
Yeah, they don't want that. But if Alabama take care of business after losing to LSU and smash the rest of their schedule, you don't really have. There's nothing to be said. There's nothing to be said. So. Well, since we're talking about preseason now, as you see up on the board, we got the diagram. I think I drew a nice little diagram up there. Yeah, it's pretty clear. It's a nice little diagram. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Give me your 4 teams for the playoffs.
God, this is so hard because I'm saying Clemson gets beat by Texas A&M, and I think if they get beat, they're done.
Done. That schedule is finished. And they would have to beat everybody by 80 points to make up for that loss to Texas A&M. They cannot have a
and I just really don't want them in there. So I'm going to say it's Alabama for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to go Alabama. I think there could possibly be 2 SEC teams in there anyway. Okay. I still wouldn't be surprised if you got Georgia in there somehow or an LSU, but I'm going to go Georgia just because I think they probably going to win their division and then lose to Alabama, but they still have one one loss, and if they got one loss and Clemson's got one loss, if that only loss is to Alabama in the SEC championship game, I think you'd have to give the nod to Georgia.
Okay, so we got.
You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
That makes sense.
So, especially if it's a close game, if Georgia loses in a close game, then they can still get in. Okay. So let's go Georgia just to mix it up a little bit. And like I was saying yesterday, I think they want a Big Ten in there. So give me Ohio State.
Ohio State versus Alabama. So is Ohio State number 3?
We're gonna go. Well, wait, let me back up. I'm not sure Georgia's gonna be second. I got Alabama at 1.
Yeah.
I got Alabama at 1. We'll put Ohio State 2. Although I'm wishy-washy on that one.
Ooh.
We're going to go Georgia's going to be 4. How about that?
Oh. Georgia's 4?
Georgia sneaks in. Georgia would sneak in with that one loss. It could happen, Brian.
Yeah,
Weird things happen.
Okay, what's number and who?
But we've got one left.
Yeah, who's number 3? Who's in that 3 spot?
Yeah, you're not gonna like this one.
It better not be a Pac-12 team.
Oregon.
Holy macaroni.
Oregon's gonna beat Auburn. If Oregon beats Auburn, their schedule sets up nice.
Yeah. I agree.
And then Oregon will be the team in the playoffs that gets absolutely mollywopped by whoever they play.
They're gonna play Ohio, so they'll be playing Ohio State. I got it. Yeah, so they'll be playing Ohio State, and that's I can definitely see Ohio. I can see Ohio State putting up ridiculous numbers there. That Georgia Alabama.
Now, just keep in mind, all those are interchangeable except the first spot.
Except the first spot.
I don't really know how they would fall into place, but that would be the 4 I'd have in there.
Yeah, I would, so let's say we go with that 4. I would definitely switch. I'll move Georgia and have Georgia playing Ohio State and Oregon playing Alabama. That's what
and actually the committee would probably do that.
Yeah, I would do that.
The committee would probably do that. I'm just saying, in my mind, if Georgia's the team that squeezes in, it seems like they would have to go at the 4th spot, but that's not always the case. They're gonna put the matchups they want. So, right. Yeah.
Okay, well,
fair enough.
I'm gonna throw my 4 out there. We're gonna go.
I know you don't like that Oregon one. You don't like the Oregon one.
I don't like that Oregon one at all. I don't like that Oregon one at all. But so we're gonna go with Alabama. We're gonna go with. I don't trust Justin Fields yet, so we're gonna put. We're gonna put.
I don't either.
We're gonna put Michigan right there.
I don't.
We're gonna put Michigan in Ohio State's place at number 2. We're gonna go. Georgia, Texas. So we got Alabama versus Texas, Michigan versus Georgia. I'm going to SEC.
Now, I do like that Texas pick. Yeah. I do like the Texas pick. That's a good one. That is a good one. And honestly, and you may be right. I'm just curious to see how Oregon matches up with Auburn.
Yeah.
If Oregon is improved and they can play and they can win against the middle-ranked SEC West team, then I think they got a shot at having a good season. But I really like Mario Cristobal.
Yeah,
and I think he's building a really, really good program. And I like their quarterback. They got a great quarterback. But do they match up? We don't know. And I think what happens is, I think if Oregon loses this game, then they just go back and go, okay, well, you know what? We're not ready yet. We didn't match up well against the middle pack team of the West. We got work to do.
Right. Yeah, a viewer just.
But we'll see. I just think they got a chance.
A viewer just put up on the screen a hand to the face. He doesn't like the selection. Doesn't like the selection. Anthony Banks is a Notre Dame fan. Again, I like how Notre Dame's schedule is set up. Again, I said Notre Dame has to throw the ball to win, and if that's all you have, I don't see them. I don't see them advancing pretty far. But again, if Brian Kelly coaches that team the right way, and they put crazy numbers up on the board through the air. Maybe Notre Dame slips in again, but we'll have to see. They first test is Georgia.
No, it's a fair point. It's a fair point, Brian, but they're not going to beat Georgia, and they can't go in with one loss. Notre Dame does not make it in with one loss. There's just no way.
Right. That's.
They don't play a conference championship. Join a conference.
Join the conference. Even if you join the ACC, just join the conference. Just join the conference. So that's the playoff predictions. Like I said, I got Alabama, Michigan, Texas, and Georgia. 2 SEC teams, a Big 12, and a Big 10. That should definitely make the people of America happy. You got the Big 10 and Big 12 in there, and you got Michigan, Jim Harbaugh, a chance to go up against the cheaters of the SEC. So we should definitely see. I hope. I would love to see those matchups. Texas, Alabama, Michigan, Georgia. Those would be. That would. I like that. I like that. I do like that. And Alabama, if Oregon got in, I would want Alabama to play them so they can go ahead and just squash that easy game and move on to the next round. So there's no injuries.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yes, I agree with that.
Give us Oregon.
I agree with that.
Give us Oregon. So, before we get out of here, guys, I want you guys to see Bama Bo's show. As you see there, I've got her J Bo show, all her information up there. Oh, I didn't get the number. But you see the logo and her Twitter address that you can follow. Follow her there. Follow the show. There's a show Saturday, right?
Yeah, we'll have one tomorrow night after the. That's the only one that'll always vary a little bit because we'll wait on a few ball games to get finished and stuff like that. But we'll probably do it somewhere around 8 Central tomorrow night just to jump in and talk a little bit about what we're seeing with Florida and have some fun and take some calls.
It's again, folks. I called in yesterday. It's a great live show. You can catch it on YouTube. It's a great live show. Real passionate football fans. Anyone can call in. There was a guy that called in from Portland, Oregon, right? And he was talking about the Auburn and Oregon game. So it's just not a Alabama or SEC fest. Anyone, any fan group or fan base can call into the show. It's very entertaining, and it's an awesome thing to watch. Great job with that show. Great
Thank
job
you.
with that. That is right now. It's kind of hard calling it, but other than that, once you do get in, or even just watching it, it's just very entertaining. It's just very entertaining. So kudos.
We got to get 2 lines and a screen caller.
There's 2 lines in a screen caller.
We got to get 2 lines and a screen caller. A call screener rather.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Yes, we've got to have help because I've got 1 line and it's so frustrating when people can't get in.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
So I was calling yesterday, and I think I called like 15, 20 times. I was like, man, people are blowing that line up. Yesterday was really going. People were calling just. I was like, I gotta keep calling, and I got through. I was shocked when I got through. I was like, oh, okay. I just started talking. I didn't think I was getting through it, and I got through. So be prepared if you get.
I
through.
loved your comment too. I loved your comment too. By the way, where you were like, Auburn's sneaky. You can't ever trust what's gonna happen.
You can't trust that team. That is a sneaky. Speaking of Auburn, how many trick plays do you think they're gonna run in that game against Oregon?
Countless. And you know what? And they'll do all of this stuff. They'll line up and they'll have all of this movement, and then nothing will happen.
Yeah.
They do it every time. They'll do all this switching just to hand the ball off to try to run 3 yards.
Yeah.
It is crazy.
Yeah, I imagine.
It's so busy. It is so busy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can imagine. It's going to be a lot of trickery, a lot of different weird formations, and a pre-snap formation where they set up somewhere over here and then they come back to the ball and quick. Gus Malzahn is a horrible magician. He's a horrible magician. Just horrible.
And that's the only reason I think. That's the only reason that I have got Oregon in this playoff game is because I just think Mario Cristobal is the coach that knows what he's facing when he faces Gus Malzahn. He was at Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
He has seen it.
Yeah.
So, does he have the players that can, that's the whole thing with that. With you guys, stay focused.
Yeah.
So don't fall for this crap. Don't fall for it. So
discipline.
If he can have his players ready to go and they win this game, I just think it really bolsters their season. We'll see.
If they beat Auburn, that they gonna shoot right up there, and it's their season to give away. If they lose that, if they beat Auburn, they take it as a punch. All they gotta do is take care of the rest of their schedule, and they're in. So,
Yep.
Either way, I don't want to hear about Oregon winning, but I also don't want to hear about Auburn winning because that's just
Lord,
that's gonna push the needle. Just it's gonna push it. I don't want to.
You know what? Auburn fans, I'll just tell you this, and I know you're trying to leave. Auburn fans this is what they do. They'll win this game and they'll just brag like they're the best thing that's ever happened and they're headed to the championship. But the reality is, and this is the reality, is that it's the difference in 8 wins versus 7 wins.
Yeah.
That's the reality.
Yep. They're not going to be high up there in the win total. No. It's going to be a tough season. Gus might be fired.
Yeah.
He might be. I mean, they always talk about firing. I don't think they have another coach in mind that they would want to bring in to replace him. So
that's why they hadn't let him go.
Yeah, I think they're married they're married for a long time. That Auburn job is not a, like, you want to compete against Nick Saban in the state of Alabama? You want to go coach in Auburn and play?
No, who would?
Like, you want to deal with that type of stress? Gus Malzahn's not going. I don't think he's going anywhere. They don't have anyone else. I don't.
No.
If I'm a coach, I'm not thinking about coming to Alabama to coach at Auburn, and I'm not getting the top tier players, and I got to deal with the stress that I got to win the Iron Bowl. No, I got to beat that team up north.
No, thank you.
I'm fine. I got to beat that team. Then I got to beat the team in Georgia too. That's too much.
Yeah,
that's way
exactly.
That's too stressful. So,
who are they gonna get? So yeah.
Before we get out of here, does Tua win the Heisman?
He better. I thought he got robbed last year, so I'm really hoping he does. Now, I think he can. I think he puts up bigger numbers. I know everybody's saying different, but I think he puts up bigger numbers than he did last year because people forget, number one, he was injured out the entire season and still put up big numbers. Mm-hmm. 2, he's not got the backup quarterback situation he had last year where he's going to play longer in games this year. Even against the Dukes, he's going to be in the game longer.
Yeah.
Is it the fourth quarter? Not necessarily, but he's not going to be pulled out at halftime either like he was for 6 games of the season last year.
Right, yeah.
So, I think it goes back to that old way where you've got the backup quarterback that just comes in and wraps the game up for you, that kind of thing. So I think his numbers have got to improve. Got to. Based off him being in the games longer and the fact that he's at least healthy, fingers crossed.
Right.
He's bound to pick up bigger numbers. If he's not in New York, I'm going to be very upset.
That's my pick. I'm picking him to take it. I don't see how he doesn't unless they just completely put on their blinders and just stare at the quarterback in Clemson. Or they just, if Oklahoma does something, if they go undefeated and Jalen Hurts breaks the quarterback rushing record or something like that. I don't think he'll do it through the air, but if he's running all over the field and has 20, 30 touchdowns by his legs, maybe they'll give it to him. But I'm thinking Tua this should be his year that he wins the Heisman because they gave it to Kyler. Kyler didn't really. He had something.
Kyler was still playing in every football game with 2 minutes left to go in the games. Yeah. Every game. Every game.
And he was in a shootout with teams that he shouldn't have been in a shootout with. So What can you do?
Yep.
What can you do?
Yep.
So, folks, that wraps up the show. Thank you, Bama Bo, for doing the show all week. Thank you very
Thank you.
much. This has been fun. Guys, tune in to her live YouTube show on Saturday, Wednesday. What's the other day?
Monday, Tuesday, Thursday.
Monday, Tuesday, Thursday. There it is. Monday, Tuesday, Thursday.
Yeah.
And Wednesday, depending on when the games end on Saturday. Make sure you tune into that. Follow her on Twitter, Instagram, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Again, like the Facebook page, See Through It Podcast. Did you get your Facebook page up and running yet, or you're still working on that?
We've got the Facebook up and running. Yeah, it's J Bo Show on Facebook as well.
Oh, so follow her there. Like I said, like, share, comment. We'll be doing these shows. I'll be doing this show. I'm thinking I'm going to be pushing one for a reaction after Sundays, or maybe on Sunday, a reaction to the Saturday's games. I need to process everything I see. I don't want to get on here and be ranting. So I will be doing this.
You know what you need to do, Brian?
Yeah.
You know what you need to do? You need to, instead of calling our show, you need to just come on our show as a special guest and do like a 15-minute segment after some football games.
Oh, that would be...
Would you do that?
Yeah, I would do that. I would definitely do that. Yeah, let's get that going. Let's get that going. So, folks, thank you again for tuning in. This is the See Through It podcast. I'm your host, Brian Sells. I will talk to you guys. Oh, don't forget, come Monday, Sean Haas will be inside my little studio, my little room. We're doing an episode on his run for him running for mayor. So make sure you tune into that. Come Monday. That's Monday. Sean Haas will be here. So again, thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you guys later. Peace.